plenty of seats here on my left side here. Please take your seats. We'll get started soon. So very warm welcome to all of you. I know it's the Thanksgiving week, so I know there's not many people in the building, and I hope I know there's like 142 RSVPs tonight, but I think we can get started, and people, if they're still coming in, we can they'll still trickle in, and we can continue our event. So welcome to all of you to the Austin Startup Meetup. I'm Suman Poluri, and I've been hosting this meetup for almost 2.5 years now. And the main motivation for me to host this event is because when I first came to Austin back in I think 2014 or 2015, I was kind of very new here. I didn't have any network of friends or colleagues or anyone here, so I was trying to find out the startup scene, because I was also working on my own startup on the side. And after some time, it becomes kind of lonely working on a startup as a solo founder, and it was kind of what drove me to go to all these meetups in town. There's plenty of great meetups here where you can go for networking, meet other like-minded folks in tech or entrepreneurship and things like that. And that's how I built my network here in Austin. And once, I think in 2017, once I was about to release my at the time my product or service or whatever we call it, that's when I thought maybe, and there's a lot of great meetups in town, but there's not many places where I can go and talk to all these founders and listen to these founder stories, and also learn more about the startup scene here in depth. There's great meetups where I can go to listen to pitches and do networking, but not long form events for startups and entrepreneurs. So I thought maybe it will be a good event to have, and so that's when I took over this meetup. And we've been doing a lot of we do some pitches here, but our main focus is not pitches. Our main focus is to have a platform where startups and founders in Austin can come together and share their experiences, share their ideas, and not just give a 5-minute pitch about, hey, we raised $1 million, or we did so and so, we got like 10,000 customers, but delve a little bit behind the scenes, understand what they did right, what they did wrong, and get that first-hand experience to learn from them. And also, if someone else is in the community is struggling with something, or needs some help with some connections, or any other aspect of their startup, maybe we can also help and help each other and grow together. And ultimately, everyone here wants to see great startups and companies come out of Austin, and that's what we want to foster here: a sense of community where we can share things and learn from each other, help each other, and grow together and build great companies. So that's basically the main motivation of having this meetup. And as we go through some of the slides, I'll also talk about other meetups where you can go and do pitches if you're looking to pitch your startup or company. I mean, we do have 1 or 2 pitch events per year. I think 1 pitch event per quarter, usually that's what we do. But our main focus is not pitches. So I'll also talk about other meetups where you can go and pitch and things like that. But yeah, I mean, that's what we do here. And we do a lot of learning sessions. We do we brought some VCs, we brought some local accelerator folks, we got some marketing folks and other folks to, I mean, basically subject matter experts to come here and talk about various aspects of the startups. And also we do I mean, I think we did one networking and mentor one-on-one session, but I mean, we're planning to do more of that as well. So I mean, there's been some people who asked for those kind of one-on-one sessions with mentors and advisors, and also maybe VCs. So we're planning to do that next year as well. And we have some great plan for the next year for for including all the feedback that we got this year. And we're putting some sessions, and I think one session close to South by Southwest where we want to do a showcase and things like that. So there's events like that coming up as well. So you can check out on meetup.com and be in touch there, or if you want, you can also email me and Slack me. We also have a Slack group. You can Slack me and ask me about upcoming events, or if you want some events, let me know. But yeah, so that's basically a brief. A small overview of what we are and or what we do here. And so before we go to the main session, I'll just cover a few slides, some resources for people that are new to Austin or new to the startup community and things like that, and then we'll go to the main session. Firstly, sponsors. We are thankful for our sponsors to make this event possible. Funnel AI is also the startup where I'm a co-founder at. What we do there is we try to identify and connect businesses with prospects in real time. The prospects can be anywhere, be it on social media, be it on online forums, and places where people talk about things or products and services where businesses, that matter to businesses. And we look at all the data and try to analyze the data to find out one or two pertinent conversations from those millions of conversations that happen there, and showcase those conversations to the business, saying, hey, there's a person that wants to buy a product or service right there on that forum, on this page on that forum. Use this link, go there and engage with that customer. So we try to connect businesses with those prospects. You can also learn more about Funnel AI at funnelai.com. And Lenamout is a peer-to-peer rental marketplace where you can list your things that you're not using at the moment and rent it out to other folks that need them and make some money. And if you want some things that you don't own, you can rent it from other folks that own them and save some money there instead of buying them outright. So lenamout.com is the website. And Cabo Factory, we all know it's the place to be if you're an entrepreneur in Austin. This is where a lot of events, I think there's more than 3,000 events that happened last year, and even this year there's even more events that happen here. And it's kind of where all the startups or the events about startups and all these things converge. They also have a great mentorship program as well as co-working space and all those things. So if you want to check out more about that, you can go to capitalfactory.com. And by the way, if any of you are planning to test out the membership here, you can just contact me offline. I can send you a link, or I can connect you to the person that can give you like I think a 1 month free trial of the Capital Factory membership and co-working space. So just hit me up when you want to do that. And I'll also just briefly go to the websites just to showcase them. If I can get my mouse to. I don't know where my mouse. There it is. For some reason, the mouse disappeared. That's okay. Oh, let me try to find it out. There it is. So that's Funnel AI and Lenamout, the peer-to-peer rental marketplace, and Capital Factory. You all know Capital Factory. So now let's get back to where we were. Okay, so this is the brief, event agenda that we follow every time. We have some 15 minutes of networking time, and then we do some. I do give an intro of the events and some resources, and then we go to the main session, and then we'll still have some time for networking and stuff after that. So for people that are new to the startup world or newly getting into startups and want to look at, hey, what are the resources I have for incubators and accelerators that I can apply to? There's a great list of resources on f6s.com or angelus.com, and from there you can also find applications to the said incubators and accelerators throughout the world. And these are some of just a small list of the full list that they have on their websites. So there's some deadlines coming up for some of the accelerators and incubators in November and December. And again, as I said, you can go to F6S and AngelList. I think angel.co is AngelList's website. So you can find out all this information. You can find out a lot of startups throughout the world, and also maybe connect with the VCs and angels there. And for people that are looking for some local accelerators and incubators in town, or not just in Austin, but close to Austin, in and around Austin, there's a few are listed here, but there's more that I'll tell you a resource where you can go and find all that. So Realco is where I think I listed Realco first because that's where we went through. That's our first accelerator program that we went through. It's more focused on B2B companies, and if you're a B2B company, I would advise you to check it out. And they're based in San Antonio, and they have a 15-month program instead of a regular 3-month accelerator program that you typically find. So it was a great program for us to just go through, where they guided us from getting customers, from growing our sales, and all the challenges we face. So it's a great program. Mass Challenge is another accelerator program that Funnel AI went through, and this is an equity-free accelerator program, so you don't need to give up equity. And it's a 3-month program. It's based out of Austin. I think this year they also opened up another program in Houston. So they have 2 programs in Texas right now, Austin and Houston. So you can check out Mass Challenge Texas. Google them and you'll find out more about them. And Founder Institute is more like an early stage accelerator or incubator. They take companies from really early stage and try to bring them up to speed and things like that. And ATI, Bunker Labs I think is more, I think it's focused on veterans and veteran-owned startups. Divink is more diversity-owned startups they focus on. Medical Innovation Labs, as the name says, medical startups. Tarmac Texas is another equity-free equity-free accelerator program, and they have each cohort they change their focus. So last year they had a different focus on what startups they're taking on. This year it was green tech startups, and I think next year they may change another focus area, maybe retail or something like that, I guess. But you can check more about Tarmac Texas. SKU is retail focused startups. JBTVL is the Texas Venture Labs. I think they focus on everything. I think they don't have a focus in the sense like they're not constrained by any industry or specialization. They take startups from every sphere. Sputnik is the same way. Techstars, everyone knows. International Accelerator for international founders. Overseas founders. And Oracle Startup is also another equity-free startup, but I think they focus more on the startups using Oracle's resources. So I think they're based in Capital Factory. I think we have the logo there somewhere in this building. And again, local, and these are only a small set of accelerators and incubators in and around town, but there's more than I listed here. Local angels and syndicates and VC firms, there's, again, lots of them. Active Capital is a firm based in San Antonio that has invested in us. Geekdom Fund is another ones that's based in San Antonio. Live Oak Partners and Silverton are based in Austin. CTAN, again, I think is based in Austin, Central Texas Angel Network. And I think CTAN also has office hours if any of you want to just meet with them and talk about your startup and see if you, get some feedback from them and see if they want to accept you into this program. You can do that by going to their bi-monthly office hours at their office. Alamo Angels is based in San Antonio. Quake Capital, again, based in Austin. And there's tons of more angels, syndicates, and VCs in and around town. So that's that. And some other resources everyone knows. LinkedIn. We already talked about AngelList and F6S. Austin Digital Jobs is a Facebook group where you can post digital jobs, jobs in tech, and also find jobs in tech if you want. Austin Tech Volunteers is also another Facebook group where you can do the same thing for tech initiatives or volunteering initiatives. TechMap Co-Founders Meetup, so that's a great meetup to go to if you want to see a lot of companies pitching, or if you want to pitch yourselves, you can apply to pitch there. They're just focused on pitches, so every month, every month, second Tuesday, I think, or second Monday, but second week, you can find out on meetup.com. But they invite like 5 companies to come and pitch every month, and you can and there's a lot of crowd that goes to the meetup, so you'll also be able to network with a lot of founders and entrepreneurs here. So that's a good meetup to go to. Solo Founders, one of our members of this meetup has started a Facebook group called Solo Founders, because he was also working on his own startup and got fed up with loneliness and things like that, and created a Facebook group for some support for all the solo founders in Austin. So that's another Facebook group if you're a solo founder and wants to talk to other solo founders here. Austin Startups, there's a well-known Facebook group for all the startup-related things. Lots of people there, lots of activity, lots of conversations that happen there. So if you want to just participate in those or have some questions, you can always post there. And if you want like a structured course material for startups, talking about different aspects of startups, like from starting up to finding customers to generating revenue, to all the stages of startups, they have a structured course material. I think this is what they use for the Y Combinator Startup School program as well, and those are all free on YouTube, and also you can find them on startupschool.org, I think is the website for Y Combinator's Startup School program. And again, local meetups, they're a great resource to go to and grow your network. And then startupinfomatters.com is maintained by I think the director of Mass Challenge Texas, and it has lots of resources all condensed into one page, so you can find out all those resources of accelerators, incubators. Some of the resources might be a little outdated, but you'll find a lot of them, which I think not many resources or websites are focused on for Austin resources. Again, acceleratetexas.co is a new initiative taken by all the accelerators in town. They've come together and created a website called acceleratetexas.co, and what they want to do is to provide a or a single place to go to and find, answer a few questions and help guide you pick the right accelerator. Because when you see a lot of accelerators available in town, sometimes we get confused as to which accelerator I need to apply to. Especially, say, if I'm a retail accelerator, for example, my best bet would be SKU or something like that. But unless we know that beforehand, we don't know that I can just focus my resources on talking to those guys at SKU, right? So with acceleratetexas.co, they kind of have a questionnaire that guides you through, hey, what is your industry? What stage are you in? Do you want to give equity or not? And things like that. And at the end, I think it'll give you like a few options saying, based on the questions you answered, these are the 3 accelerators or 2 accelerators or 1 accelerator that matches the best, and helps you try to streamline your process of applying to those accelerators or incubators. Again, if any of you are working on your own apps or products or services, and you want some help with testing or spreading the word to others, let me know. Drop me a line, and I'll send a note to the group. I don't know if you all receive my newsletter. So what I do is, in every newsletter that I send out, I send it once a month, so not to spam your inboxes. So I put something like a member showcase, where usually at the end of the meetup, I try to go. We try to have like a free flow discussion where I try to understand what startups people are working on, and if anyone wants to share their startups with other group, so with a larger group. And so I kind of note down all that information and send it out like this, showcasing some of the startups that are run by the members. So you can see all those things in the newsletter and also look at the previous newsletters for reference. If I can go back again, find my mouse. I don't know what's happening. Oh, okay, there it is. Okay. So yeah, just let me know, and I'll send out a note to the group. Again, if you're looking for jobs or if you're hiring for some positions at your company, let me know. There might be people in the group that are looking to start new jobs or maybe work for startups and things like that. And any other startup related things, if you have questions and no one is answering, just drop me a line and I'll try to connect with people that in my network, or maybe you can also join the Slack group and maybe post a question there. Maybe some other people can answer those. So we do a couple of things every time. So one thing I always say is, it's hard to meet people's expectations of why they come to these meetups. So I can never guarantee that everyone here will be satisfied with the content of the meetup. But one thing I can guarantee is that by coming here, you are exposed to a lot of people that you have never met before. So you can always go back from this meetup, if not with the content that you heard here, learned here, you can go back from this meetup with a new connection. So which is always valuable in my opinion. So we'll take 2 minutes and just look at your right and left and find one person that you haven't met before coming to this meetup. Just introduce yourself and get what they're doing and things like that, and just maybe exchange your cards or maybe LinkedIn profiles or whatever. We'll take 2 minutes and we'll come back. Okay. 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 Hello, everyone. Okay. Hello. Okay, so I hope I hope you all made a new connection, and what I wish is that you continue to have these conversations later after the main event, and then maybe also continue to have these connections available in your network, so you can talk to them in future. So I'll quickly ask a few questions to understand the nature of the audience here and try to get a sense of who we have in this room. So it'll help our discussion later. Are there any investors in the room? Any investors in the room today? There's 2, 3. Okay, awesome. And how many of you have a side project or thing in mind, but you have not released it, so it's not available to public yet, but you have working on something? About 5, 6, 7. Okay. And how many of you have a startup or a released project that's available to public? Okay, about 10. Thank you. And are there any people who are like veteran startup entrepreneurs who have already had a startup in the past and maybe sold it off or closed it? Okay, there's 4, 5. Okay, thank you. So I think I'll not go into the rest of these questions because I think we kind of have answered some of them. One thing I want to ask before, because we're also drafting a plans for the next year, I want to ask, is everyone okay with the 6:30 time frame, or do you think maybe 6 would be a better time for you to come? 6:30. Is 6:30 a good time? Okay, awesome. Thank you. Before one last thing before we go to the main slides or main session is the next meetup is on December 12th because the 4th Tuesday is in the Christmas holiday time frame, so we kind of pushed it forward. And then I think we are going to have like a session on how to convey your stories better to customers and investors and things like that. We're going to publish that details in Meetup soon. And if you have any future ideas or ideas about future meetups that you want to be addressed here, let us know. Like any of those things, like startup law. We already had startup law, maybe IP patents, GDPR contracts, or any of those things that you want us to cover here. We'll be more than happy to bring some subject matter experts to do those. Okay, so with that said, we'll go to the main talk today. And again, when I say talk, I just want to make a couple of things clear before we start, which is, the things that we're going to talk here, or that I'm going to talk here, are, it's a combination of things that we have learned through our experience at our startup, that we have researched when we were, in the early stages, trying to figure out how to grow and how to get customers, and some of the things that are also things we've learned through talks with advisors and mentors and people that we've encountered, like other founders and folks that we've encountered in our accelerator programs or elsewhere in meetups and networking sessions like these. So the things that we're going to talk here are not absolute solutions for anything. there's no silver bullet for any particular question or challenge. It all depends. It all depends on the product that we all have, the kind of market we are operating in, the kind of customers we're targeting, and so on. So and also there's not one expert that knows everything, right? So I know a few things. There's people in this room that are already working on their startups or maybe their second startups and things like that that have already have some experience with doing these things, but in a different way. And everyone comes from a different background, have a different experience. So what I'd like to have today is like an interactive session. So I'll talk about some of those things, and then we'll also go to the audience to find out like if there's anyone who has done these things in a different way, or how some of these people have implemented some of these best practices in their startups or in their companies, and what led to their success or failure and things like that, so we can learn from each other. Okay, so it's probably going to be I'll try to make it like an interactive session. I don't want to, give a speech and you all fall asleep, right? So, and you can stop me anytime. There's no, I don't want to like wait till the end for questions. We can still have questions and things like that, but you can stop me anytime and we can have a discussion. Okay. So how to get the first few customers? So I mean, the reason I'm talking about this is because when I was having conversations with other founders, and even in the early stages when we just started a company 2 years back, and we were trying to find what is the best way to find out, way to find the customers, how to grow our company, and things like that. We felt that this is one area that is like a major problem for almost every startup or every company that has a new product or service in the market, or even developing a new product or service for the market. So we'd like to, go through some of these strategies, maybe talk about some of these, some of the ways we can mitigate some of the challenges we face, or we will face down the line when trying to get our customers. So, I mean, it's been done in a few different ways. Some companies, directly jump into action and just do, and some companies, some founders, they spend a little bit of time planning and then doing. And in my personal experience, because I've done kind of both, and when we jumped and did, we kind of burnt ourselves in some ways. So in my experience, planning a little bit, it need not be like a 5-year plan, 10-year plan, things like just planning a little bit before taking actions always helps. I mean, you think ahead, and it'll always help you streamline some of the things, and think about things that you don't or you don't want to do, or if you do some things, I mean, you'll know that you'll get burned even beforehand. So planning is something that I always emphasize on, and so we'll start with the plan. So every company, when they look for how do I find customers, the first thing, in my opinion, that needs to be done is, first we need to define who is that customer that we are chasing. If we kind of define a few attributes, if we define a kind of the behavior of the person that we are, or the ideal customer that we are wanting to use our platform or product or service, I think it'll make our lives easier to find out where those customers are, why those customers are behaving the way they do when they use the product and service, and also try to refine our product in a way to meet the expectations of the customer, or even build the product to meet the expectations to that customer, rather than trying to just cast a wide net and try to find a few customers, which kind of is a waste of resources, in my opinion. It's always good to have like an idea of who the target customer is, and again, this varies across different industries and different types of startups, especially if it's a startup focusing on end users, consumers using the product. The ideal persona might be a little different than a startup focusing on businesses as their customers. So for end users, I mean, it might be better to look at who are these end users in terms of what their backgrounds will be. So if I'm, say for example, if we look at, say, let's take a product, just trying to see, okay, so let's take, say, Evernote, right? So Evernote is a company that develops this note-taking application, right? So for Evernote, I mean, it's like individuals that use the product, right? So for them, it helps to look at why people are going to use this product. I mean, who's the person who's best suited to use this product? The person that's best suited is kind of at the time when Evernote launched. I mean, I think it's the person that kind of wants to take wants to have something jotted down quickly, and doesn't have a good solution on the market. I mean, there was like Google Docs, and there was things like Microsoft Word and things like that, but nothing was really helpful. And then There was also other products in the market like Apple's own, I think, note-taking application and things like which were too basic. So they kind of want, I mean, they were looking at finding an ideal customer that was frustrated, and also they were looking at an ideal customer that was a little bit tech savvy, because I mean, when you're looking at finding an ideal customer, if your customers are not tech savvy, you have a different path that you need to take to get them to use your product. You'll probably need to focus on a little more training material, little more hand-holding in the application or product or service than just using, I mean, giving an app and saying use it, because the tech-savvy people are more accustomed to finding their own way through the apps. So it's good to also see what skill sets do they have. I mean, are they tech-savvy? Are they not tech-savvy? And the haves and wants. I mean, there's things like, I mean, what are they frustrated with? What do they currently have that they can use? I mean, they have products A, B, and C that they can use right now, but are they really helping them? Or what are their wants? I mean, in the sense, like, what are the frustrations do they have with using the existing apps? Or, I mean, if you're releasing a product or service that you want to monetize later through some kind of SaaS model, you'd also want to look at what the ideal customer's spending habits are. I mean, if it's like, if the app that you're releasing or product you're releasing is like, I mean, if you want to charge $100 per month, can your ideal customer afford your app? I mean, thinking about all these things a little bit beforehand will help you understand, what should my ideal customer be? I mean, who should I target? If I'm planning to charge, because my costs are so high that I want to charge like $100 per month, and my ideal customers cannot pay $100 per month, can I sustain myself as a company? And if it's more seasonal, if your customer spending is more seasonal, then you'll probably have to understand, like, can I sustain my company when they don't spend as much in off season? And things. I mean, thinking about all those things will kind of help you nail down your customer. Maybe at the end of this exercise, you may find that your ideal customer is not the one who you thought initially would be, and that happens in a lot of startups. And a lot of startups start with a particular product and feature set, but as they get feedback and as they talk to customers, they iterate, and the end product, I mean, they might even pivot in the middle, and the end product seems to be quite drastically different from what they initially started with. And the reason is that they might have started with the ideal customer in mind, who was completely different from what their current customer persona is. And same for businesses. I mean, I have a little bit more insight into businesses because we develop a B2B application, and we were kind of, we had to learn this through hard means, because none of us are salespeople. So in the team, so we were all product people, and we were enthusiastically developing the product. And then when we went to sell this product to the customers, then we found that different businesses operate differently. There's small and medium businesses that operate in a different manner than enterprises. The business cycles, the turnaround cycles are very drastic, and in enterprises, when you're selling to enterprises, your turnaround cycles are even like more than 6 months. I mean, you go with a meeting with all these hotshots in different departments, and you won't get a response maybe even 3-4 months down the line. And you say, hey, what's happening? I mean, do they like? I mean, they all said they like the product. Why are they not sending me any response? That's probably because the turnaround cycles in a business, in an enterprise, is a lot longer than when you're selling to a small business. And this is something, the decision makers is something that we found is a key selling point, because we were initially trying to sell or demo this product that we have to a lot of people that we initially met in the company. So they were all kind of lower level managers or people that did not really have decision making capabilities, but they were enthusiastically telling us that they liked the product in our meetings that we had, and I mean, we came out of the meetings thinking that, wow, we sold this product. I mean, we were on a roll. But then 2 months down the line, we felt that nothing was moving in the company, and no one else was contacting us. And then later we found that those people that we demoed it to, those people that we talked to, they were not really the decision makers in the company. So when you're looking at a B2B kind of sale, a target customer and identifying the target customer, also keep in mind who the decision makers are. I mean, if we don't look at that, it's going to be a pain when it comes to actually selling to those, because you will not always talk to the right people in companies. And if you're developing products like integration products for businesses, it's always good to know who their preferred vendors are, what software the companies are using, and especially in this day and age, I think with social media, there's lots of people, employees of businesses on social media talking about their technology, they're talking about their sales processes and things like that. So it's easy to understand by just looking at their social graph. It's easy to understand what technologies they're using. Can I integrate with them, and also get in touch with the people that are actually posting about those things. And so, I mean, having all this, thinking about all these things, and these are only a few aspects, but you can also find out different customer behaviors and things like that by doing a little bit more research. But having all those things in mind will help you identify who the target customer is. And for example, I mean, in our case, when we first developed our application and we went to sell to businesses, we initially thought that the people that will be using this would be the the social media managers or the internet sales people. But then it turned out not to be exactly that way, because when we initially demoted to all these, or when we had the social media managers and people like that using our application, in some cases we felt that they thought it was a threat to their own position, and that was something we did not expect until we kind of already rolled the product out and have been demoing, have been piloting with a few customers. So having this thing in mind will kind of also refine your product. You'll have kind of a plan B if things do not go the way you thought they would go with the initial customers that you have. So that's one thing I would say is highly necessary. Yes, sir.
Yeah, can I follow up on the point about decision makers? So if you're in a situation where you feel like there are the group of people that are going to be the users of the product and the group of people that are going to be the people who actually pay for the product are two different groups of people, what do you think of as your customer? Do you think of the user as your customer, or do you think of the person who's paying as your customer, or both?
So in our experience, what we found was when we have our initial conversations, it's usually with the higher level management who actually don't use the product but take decisions about the product. And then if we can impress them, then usually it's not like it doesn't get over in one meeting. There's always a follow-up meeting where they'll bring in additional people from the actual department that they'll be rolling this product into. And then, or if they don't propose that, you can also propose that, hey, can we have another meeting with some of the people from so-and-so department in our next meeting, so we can also have like one-on-one conversations, or maybe they can also give their input. And in most cases, they're more than happy to bring additional folks in, unless it's like a high-level discussion where they talk about pricing and things like that. In that case, you won't get those lower level folks. But yeah, I mean, the initial selling point was, in my opinion, in my experience, was always the top level folks, and then the follow-up meetings had like some of the people from the actual people that'll be using the product. So, but again, it varies from the kind of the size of companies. If it's a really small company, I think people wear multiple hats, so you'll kind of find those people also in your meetings. But if it's a large company, you'll have like a hierarchical structure. So And again, I mean, to find out, um, I mean, how to get those customers, one additional thing is, I think we all have need to have goals and scope. The goals being, if I were developing a new application or rolling out a new, or turning a new application public or developing a new application for the public, having a goal that, oh, by the way, I want like 100 customers by the end of this month or 1,000 customers by the end of this year, would be really helpful to gauge your, whether you're still on track. Are you meeting your metrics or the targets that you're setting for yourself, or not? So that's something that I felt some of the founders that I talked to have not done so well. So they're always kind of okay, let's get more and more customers, but they never had like a target on, hey, these are the, because we're talking about first few customers, because the reason we're talking about first few customers is because when you have a new product, you always have a lot of uncertainty that comes with the product. The uncertainties come from the product maybe has a lot of bugs because it's, you're releasing it super early. The product may not be super intuitive to the customers, even though it doesn't have bugs. I mean, the customers may, when you release it to the customers, they may feel that, hey, where do I find the button to go to the next page, or where do I find the button to do the payments and stuff like that. So we want to get, yes, sir.
To add to the point, all of this goes back to the go-to-market model, how we build a go-to-market model, right? So
Yeah.
to a point that I would not care about how many customers that I'm going to build into by when. My
Mhm.
go-to-market is built in a right way about what is the market sense is all about, what is the approach that I'm going to take,
Mhm.
who's my personas that I'm going to be selling into,
Mhm.
what is this problem that I'm solving for the market, right? If my product is being defined to solve certain set of issues,
Mhm.
keeping in mind that there are certain approaches that I've taken by understanding the market sense and approach that I've taken to build the product, will define the go-to-market model to approach the way in which I'm going to position my product in
Mhm.
the market. And of course, I define personas whom I sell into. Personas could be buyer, it could be user,
Mhm.
it could be a beta customer, or whosoever it is.
Yeah.
I think the foundation to all this is we have a good go-to-market plan.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, one really good piece of advice that I heard from some of the mentors and advisors from the accelerator programs that I've talked to, and even the investors that we had, was to do anything even before we start coding or even before we start developing a product, to have all the things in place, in the sense like research, do some research, and talk to potential customers even before you have the product in hand. So the reason they gave us that advice is because a lot of times, I mean, even we're a little guilty of that, in the sense like a lot of times people with technical backgrounds build products because they know how to use tech, and for them everything looks like a nail, and they try to use their hammer and try to build out the product, and then they realize, okay, I have a product and I need to now get customers. But the better way to do that is to first, I mean, if we really have something in mind to to go to market, as he said, I mean, to have these things done beforehand, so that way I know that, hey, is there really a demand for this kind of tool? We also kind of touched up on some of this in the previous event, where we kind of talked about what needs to be done before building a product. Basically, one of the things is to try to understand the challenges in the market, and if your idea or the product idea that you have addresses any of those challenges. If not, I mean, in some cases, I mean, you can still release redundant products. I mean, there's lots of there's Uber and there's Lyft and things like that, where you always find redundancy in the marketplace. So it's not that if you release a competitor to an already existing product, your product won't work. It's not like that. But there's a greater chance that your product would work if there's actually a need for your product. So a lot of advisors do suggest that even before you start building something and wasting resources on either server times or you have to pay for your resources, right? So and also invest your time and effort. Even before you do that, start worrying about is this going to be useful to the people that I think I'm building this product for? Or if you can talk to some of those people that you think will be using your product, understand, what tools and what software or what existing utilities that they have that they're using right now to address, to do the work that they're doing right now, and try to understand what are their pain points, what are their issues, rather than asking them hey, I have this product, will you use my product? If we can understand what their pain points are, we can build the product in a way that the customers might want. So yeah, exactly. We need to have a go-to-market strategy to even start building a product. Otherwise, it's like and most of the times we'll kind of end up building a product that's completely out of sync with what the market wants. So and one of the reasons I said how many we have, having a goal for how many the first few customers we want is. A lot of startups in the early stage are constrained by resources, be it human resources or be it monetary resources. And if you're planning to go after 10,000 customers and hey, you put a goal for yourself that, hey, I want to get 10,000 customers for my application. With the current budgetary resources or human resources in the team, is that possible? If not, are you trying to waste a lot of time doing something that you're not going to achieve? You had something? You're talking about completely new products or products that are
New technologies here.
Mm-hmm.
People were talking about the software for something like this, 20 years ago. Someone was
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going into this, but today everyone's doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think for new technologies, it's always a challenge. And for those, I would say, I'm not an expert in those kind of markets, but in my opinion, if your technology is completely new to the market and there's no existing, people that use those kind of technologies or existing infrastructure for deploying that kind of technology and things like that, they kind of tend to be a little capital intensive in the beginning, because you need to first make people aware that, hey, this is a new technology and this can change the industry or lives of the people in so manner. And so in those kind of cases, I would feel that the capital intensive cases would probably benefit more from getting investment or guarantee for investment beforehand than delving first into releasing a product, because they'll soon run out of money and they'll soon run out of their competitive advantage as well. If there's other bigger companies that get to know what you're doing, they might innovate faster, right? So because of their resources. So that's my opinion, and if someone in the room has experience with that, yeah.
Taking a classic example of a product, I've been working on the edge computing. I don't know how many of you heard of edge computing. It's a very strategic product, right? So it's been there. It's not a new concept in the market. Edge computing, we all know where edge computing is, what it matters to that. It's beyond the firewall. Any devices that we use, it could be net server, edge device, which is behind the firewall of traditional data centers, or a cloud, multi-cloud, hybrid cloud. So there is telemetry data that get generated from these devices. Could be our mobile phone. It's a strategic project. product which nobody can really understand very well in the market today. Now, how do we going to position that? How did we position that? One is we did the market sense, right? So, market approach with regards to how we're going to position this product, right? If we're going to even define this product, right? We did not plan to build a product, but we actually built approach with regards to knowing the market sense is, right? And then we also looked at the other angles that customers would really need edge computing for, like multi-cloud management, right? Where are these edge computing devices and servers are running, how they're going to run, right? And how they're going to be managed. So there is a management aspect to it, right? And of course, then you have to push the AI and analytics to those devices and to those servers to make sense of the data where it's originally generated. So you're bringing in the additional capabilities like AI and analytics. You're bringing in multi-cloud management to manage those things, which are existing products in the market. On top of you building in a cover called edge computing, right? So it's a strategy that you're building a solution that, when you take this to the market, people understand, oh, now why should I buy this? Right? Why do I see this as a challenge to my company and to my product and my customer service that I need to buy in the solution because it brings in integrated offerings along with it to solve a bigger challenge. So that's how we kind of approach our thing.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, because if you can tie your product with existing solutions and show that you're offering more value, and if you're also at the same time addressing some of the challenges that maybe a niche segment in the market is facing, I think that's another great approach, right? So, but again, that's new technologies coming into the market always have these challenges. It's always a challenge of making people aware, making finding the right customers that are facing those challenges that can be solved by the technology and things like that. So, but again, I think some of those new technologies always kind of, in my opinion, a lot of those new technologies that come into the market, which are like disruptive technologies, need a lot of investment, and it'll help if you partner with if you have the backing of a VC firm or some kind of capital, that comes from, it can be VCs or angels or someone that'll help a lot in mitigating some of the pressures down the line with running out of money, running out of resources. Because especially with new technologies, you also are employing the best of the, best people in the field, and you need to retain those people, right? So that costs a lot of money as well. So, that's a great answer to new technologies and how to position those things, right? And coming back to this, so some kind of goals and scope will help, especially for going after the initial customers, and having some idea of how many customers you want, by when do you want these to acquire these customers. And again, this varies for consumer applications because there's millions of users out there. It could be your goal could be I want 100 customers by end of this month or 1,000 customers by end of this year. But then if you are a B2B company, your goal could be completely different. You can have a goal hey, I want to sign up 10 medium-sized businesses to use my product, or I want to sign 20 small businesses by end of this quarter, or something like that. Something that gives you a milestone to keep in mind, and work towards the milestone. And sometimes we always, some of these are kind of based on gut feeling. Some of these are based on research that we do, and sometimes we may be wrong in the way that we read the research or we approach the market. And having those milestones in mind will also give us a sense of, hey, I'm not meeting this milestone that I set for myself. Why is that? Maybe I'm going too aggressively. Maybe I'm going after the wrong customer. Maybe I'm doing something wrong, right? So you can adjust those milestones based on, it'll be a continuous process. There's not going to be a one thing that you set in stone and never change, right? And then there's also the types of users that you want to acquire initially. Do you want to raise the application or product service to beta customers, or do you want to work with pilot customers? Pilot customers, as in I'm talking about more business customers here. or are you looking for user evangelists? Maybe you already have a product that's out there in the market in the beta phase, or some way for people to already tinker with, and now you're ready to release your version 1 that can be spread out across the market. And maybe you're looking for user evangelists who can use that product and say good things about your product, and also introduce that product to others. So that also kind of helps you understand how you need to approach getting your customers. And then again, there's always this constraint that is hanging like a sword on the top of our minds for early stage companies, which is like, what is the cost of acquisition of these customers? Do I need to spend $10 per customer to acquire each customer, or do I need to spend $100? Just having an idea of what that cost of acquisition is and how much budget we can spend to get those target customers that we want will also give us a sense of how fast we need to go. Maybe we need to apply for a VC capital, or maybe we need to also, in 2 months, we need to also be part of an accelerator or incubator program that helps us grow faster and things like that. So it kind of also helps in defining the roadmap for the company. And level of engagement is something that some companies can keep in mind, in the sense like, okay, once I get my initial 100 customers, what is my next step? The first thing is we always need to retain our customers, right? Retention is something that's key to having loyal customers. And how do we? We also will think about, okay, how do I engage with these customers during the phase of the initial testing phase, or initial phase where they check out our products and give us feedback. And once they do that, once your goal is met that they're happy with the product, how do you keep them using the product? How do you keep them engaged with the product? So that's something that is not essential in this stage, but it's like something that we need to keep probably in the back of our mind to keep engaging those products with the product we have. So, and then there's lots of companies that went through different means to acquire these customers. As I said, there's no silver bullet that addresses all use cases. I think the first use case, at least for consumer-focused apps, products or services, would be our immediate network. The first thing you probably will, we all think about is, hey, I developed this cool product, or I'm going to develop this cool product. Who do I first get as my customers? Maybe our family, your friends, or our extended personal network. Maybe some acquaintances that we met at some event earlier that we or some birthday party or somewhere else. They're our extended personal network. Having those people sign up as our first initial customers would be the ideal way to go, because it needs less selling. There's inherently a little trust already built into the relationship, so you can ask them, hey, can you join my platform, or can you sign up on my website, or things like that. And then one problem with these kind of users is, even with the inherent trust that's already built into the relationship, there's also an inherent bias that comes with that relationship. Because if you have a product and you give it to your family and friends and ask them to evaluate the product, saying that you built this, they might be hesitant to give you negative feedback. So that's something that we'll probably have to factor and weigh or weight that feedback a little lower than factual feedback. So if they're saying that, hey, the button is not visible, this page is not loading, those are factual feedback items that we can always keep in mind, and they'll be really helpful. But if they're saying that, hey, this looks great, this sounds really good, this app looks really neat, and things like that, those are subjective feedback items, which, especially if it comes from family and friends, we'll have to just, at least in my opinion, I would give it a lower weight than if it comes from a stranger. And our next set of customers could come from professional network and referrals. So this is one of the reasons I always kind of tell people to keep growing their network. I mean, it could be at meetups, it could be at company events, it could be anywhere else. I mean, having that professional network will really be useful in not just getting users, but also getting referrals. Because the people in your professional network may or may not have the background or may not be the ideal customers for your application, but they may know someone in their company, or they might be working in a field where they have access to someone else that they can refer you to. And what we found was warm introductions were always super, super helpful. When we showcased our product to someone at a business, saying that, hey, this is our product, can you give us feedback? That was less helpful than if someone referred us to a target customer saying, hey, I heard of this company, they're developing a great app that might be useful to your company, can you try it out? That warm introduction was super helpful, and people were more receptive to trying us out. They were more involved in giving feedback and things like that, because it came the referral came from someone they knew, right? So professional network and referrals, I think, kind of go hand in hand, and it'll help finding people that you may otherwise not find through your own means. And then there's also interest-based community events and meetups and groups. So this is another thing I found was really helpful, is if we were developing a marketing application that would be of use for marketing folks, I can go to a marketing meetup and network with folks there, or I can go to a marketing event in town that's happening and grow my network there, because I have a greater chance to find out and talk to the people that might be using my app in the future. So these interest-based groups, because of the fact that they're already filtered on the interest, that they're only working on, they're only meeting because they're all interested in, say, marketing. They're meeting because they're all interested in sales or tech, will be really helpful in finding your target customers quickly. For example, there's if I was developing a cloud related application, and I know there's someone in San Antonio, there's a company that builds cloud-based products, and which help in monitoring your cloud usage, the product usage and things like that. The way they marketed themselves was to go to these user groups, like there was Amazon Web Services user group, there's cloud, I think generic cloud users group and things like that they went to and kind of talked to people that were coming there, because they already found that their target customers were already coming to those events, or even if they were not coming to, the exact target customers were not coming to those events, people from the companies that they want to sell to, those people were coming there, and they were able to establish contacts within the companies that they want to sell to through these, and they were also getting those, the referral, advantage by already getting a referral from people that work in that same company that they want to sell to. So that was really, I thought that was a really great way to get customers, because if you already go to these meetups and events which are already converging on a particular interest, it's super easy to find those people. You especially from the events that I've gone to, the tech events that I've gone to in Austin, I found that there's I was easily able to talk to the vice presidents or maybe the product managers in companies that I would normally not have easy access to, and so that's one other thing that corroborated my my understanding that going to these events is super helpful way to find your way into the customers or into your ideal customers' companies. Or even, even if it's a consumer-based application, it's easy to find those kind of. if you're developing a dating app, there's Austin's under 20s meetup or 20s to 30s social meetup or something like that, where you can go to and look for people that are interested in dating and maybe also do that, right? So having these events is a really great way to find customers. And some companies do this freemium model. It works in some cases, and I would advise not to go with this model in some cases. But a lot of companies do this freemium model where you can sign up for a free trial, or even sign up for a basic plan for free, and then if you want additional features, that's when you pay. And that's really helpful for companies where you can provide that basic application or basic feature set for free. But some companies cannot do that, especially companies which are more niche or developing niche products which are only used by a certain section of the people in the company and things like that. So I would advise not doing the freemium model from the start, but rather doing a more compulsive demo, which would or more compelling demo that would be driving your customers. So that way you can sign up customers and have paying customers from the start and have some revenue coming in, especially if you're developing a product that is like either developer intensive or capital intensive. You'll want to have that recurring revenue stream coming in from the start. And also some companies do referral programs. I think there were a few companies, trying to remember which companies were those. Some big companies did these referral programs when they got started, in the sense like I think Robinhood does this too, I guess. They give a free stock for everyone that you invite to join Robinhood, the stock buying application. They do it, and then I don't know if Coinbase or other companies did that, but some companies do that referral programs where if you bring in additional people onto the platform, for each one that you bring onto the platform, you'll get either a $5 thing or maybe some kind of free gift or something like that. So that'll probably incentivize people to spread the word and get more customers. But one thing that was really I felt was really helpful was content marketing. Even ourselves, when we wanted to try out some products or tech stacks or some kind of technical products that we wanted to use at our company, we kind of found some of those ideal product solutions that worked for us through content marketing that those companies were doing. Especially a lot of companies these days do blogs. If they blog about their products and services, it's really great way to find what products and services are available through. Blogs also help with SEO and things like that. So it's easy to find through Google and other places. And some people do a blog post and then post it on social media and all those places. So that kind of increases their reach. And some companies, I know, was it Spiceworks or some company here in Texas does forums. They have their own forums and generate customers from their own forums. So they kind of have their own, they run their own forums to bring in people talking about solutions which they develop products and services for. So that's another way to bring in, customers. SEO is, everyone talks about SEO. I don't need to talk about SEO much, but then, talks are a great way to also increase the visibility and also the credibility of the founders and also the the company. So a lot of people, or a lot of companies, especially tech companies, what they do is they send their team to go to various tech events and participate in presentations and talks, and even at conferences they send their people to do talks. So that way they increase the visibility of their product and also hit the areas where people interested in those solutions come to. So that's another way. I mean, if you're developing a general purpose app, even then I would say, I mean, if you can go and give a talk at some place or collaborate with some place that does these kind of presentations, some meetup or some event that does invite these kind of presentations, you can go and talk to them. And present your product and service, and I'm pretty sure that'll increase your visibility. And I know one company which did a lot of, so the founders, what they did was, one of the companies that I know of, they, instead of, in addition to writing blogs, what they did was they also invited guest bloggers. The guest bloggers were, it was a tech company, so they invited guest bloggers or blogs or guests from other tech companies or subject matter experts in that area to come and write articles on their own blog. So by that way, what they did was they were increasing awareness of not just their product, they were also kind of blogging about the general challenges in that field by subject matter experts in that field. And when those subject matter experts came and wrote articles for this company's blog, they also shared that in their own social circles, in their own companies or networks, professional networks, and that they increased their visibility a lot. And I know they got like a lot of customers through that tactic. So content marketing is super helpful, and if you can do it right, I think that's a great, powerful way to get customers. And then social marketing. A lot of people do social marketing these days on, say, Twitter, Facebook, or the familiar social media channels. But social marketing is not just, marketing about your products. Social marketing can also be, engaging with customers. For example, if you're developing an app that that helps with getting doctor appointments quicker, say for example, you can go to social media and find out people complaining about not being able to get to doctor's appointments faster, or not able to get to get to the doctors faster through their appointments and things like that. And you can engage with them and say, hey, by the way, we see that you are facing a problem with this. We have a solution, and do you want to use that? And most people would try to. If it looks helpful, they would try to use it, right? So social marketing is not just harping on about your product on social media, but also try to find where people are complaining. Try to find where. Some companies, like say for example, Uber did. If you all remember back in, I think it was in 2013 or 2014, when there was was it in Boston or somewhere, there was a transportation strike or school bus strike that was going on, and then Uber did a social media campaign in that locality where they just gave free rides to a lot of people. They gave they found where people were complaining about the transportation strike or problems with transportation, and they gave them discounts and free rides and things like that. And I think they also did some kind of Uber kittens kind of thing sometime back, where they kind of brought some kittens and let people pet those kittens for 10-15 minutes, just for some exposure and things like that. But there's lots of ways to do social marketing. And a lot of people don't do that because they just keep on talking about their own product on and on their social channel, but not just taking advantage of opportunities where you can utilize social media for. And Reddit, Hacker News, and forums, those are a great way to also increase your visibility. Especially, I know Reddit can be a hit or miss place because the crowd, it depends on the mood of the crowd, I guess. But Hacker News is one place, I mean, especially if it's a tech product or things like that, a tech startup. A lot of tech startups have posted on Hacker News and kind of got their first few customers from Hacker News. Hacker News is that Y Combinator news for people that don't know about. So Y Combinator's news website and or forum where people just post articles, and it's almost like Reddit, but it's more tech crowd, startup crowd. And a lot of people, you can like post like a show Hacker News post where you can post an article about your own company, and then if people like it, you'll get a lot of traction from there. I know Dropbox and I don't know if MongoDB or something else also got a lot of initial traction from Hacker News. And forums, I mean, if your product has something unique to offer to a particular crowd, usually there's already a forum about that topic where people are already talking on that topic, and you can go to that forum and kind of do some kind of may not be blatant marketing, but you can just kind of try to answer some questions and then just sneak in one or two sentences about, hey, by the way, we also have this thing. Or maybe you can even do an anonymous kind of thing saying, hey, I know you're looking for this CRM solution, and we've used these CRM solutions also, and the CRM solutions that we felt best suited for our solution were some competitor's company, and then you can drop in a line about your own company. People will. I mean, you're obviously helping answer questions by the way of answering questions but truthfully. In the way you can also drop in a line about your own company. I mean, that's another way to do marketing, right? So, and then a lot of people these days also do YouTube and Instagram marketing, and that's kind of out of my scope to talk about. But some people have done it really successfully. I mean, especially the younger founders in their 20s and early 20s, they know how to use Instagram and YouTube to their advantage, and some of those campaigns have gone viral, and then they found their initial customers there. But hey, that's there's lots of solutions, right? One other thing is like conferences and industry events are a really great way to find customers. And I know conferences would be kind of a little intimidating for early stage startups, because to go to these conferences you'll have to pay a lot of money. The tickets for some of these conferences can go into thousands, but then you can do some guerrilla marketing and things like that. I mean, you may. I mean, if there's a lowest price ticket, you can take that lowest price ticket, which gives you access to a few sessions here and there in the conference, but then a lot of the networking happens in the hallways. So, if you're just going to conferences to get customers, you don't need to go to the sessions. You can just take the lowest price thing, meet with those conference attendees. And I know some conferences also do like hiring events, for which they charge the lowest price ticket for people that want to get hired. Maybe you can register as as a person looking for employment, take that lowest price ticket, go to that conference, and within the 2 hours or 3 hours that you have at that event, meet with folks and maybe talk to those folks and get some new customers there. There's lots of guerrilla marketing tricks that people do at conferences and events. Some startups that I know have done these. Industry events, and also a lot of times what happens is even outside the conference there's a few booths available, or the conferences usually happen in convention centers where just one or two blocks of the convention center is like blocked for that conference, but the hallways or the rest of the conference center is all open. You can maybe go to the conference or the convention center and maybe just wait for people to come out of the sessions at the end of the day and maybe just talk to them while they're waiting for their cars, or maybe they're just trying to see what to do after the conferences or the day's events are done. You can find people like that too. And then there's always the traditional advertising thing, which I don't personally put much value on, because you don't get like I felt we didn't get like a lot of bang for the buck for when we went through advertising through regular channels. But sometimes it works. If people that know how to do it well may be able to get some mileage out of it. Cold emails and phone calls, or cold phone calls, they usually don't work, but they can work if you use them creatively. Basically, I know cases where it worked, where the email was short and the value proposition was highlighted in a little graphic or one or two graphics to catch the eye. For example, in one case where I know it worked was like the email was super short, saying, "Hey, I know there's you guys are using the software, and we launched a new integration done to this software," and that's about like a couple of lines. That's it, describing what the company did, and then put a few infographics saying, "This is how much we reduced the spend for one of our customers, and this is how much the customer saved by using the product," or something like that. Some infographic highlighting what the value proposition was, and then that's it. It's a super short email, but it worked. It was a cold email, and it worked because people that usually read these cold emails, you send these cold emails to are kind of busy people, and they don't have enough time to look at it. But if you put it creatively, sometimes it could work, and if it could catch the attention of the person, it could work. And cold phone calls, I don't know of any personal experiences where cold phone calls worked, but I guess some people may have had some success with that. I don't know if any of you had any success with any cold phone calls, but I never knew any personal experience where that worked. Press coverage is really good, especially when you're in a starting stage. You may or may not get access to journalists and people like that, but there's always press coverage available if you can find that. For example, there's community newsletters that come out, and they just come out to every house, no matter whether you subscribe to them or not. There's people just come and just put something in your inbox, or maybe send you a community newsletter. And then there might be some people that look at those. I don't know how many people look at the community impact booklet that comes every month. I don't know if it's an Austin thing or maybe just a North Austin thing, but everyone gets that every month or every week, I guess. And I look at it once in a while, because they put some community-related information as new roads and new road closures, or maybe new schools or new establishments coming up and so on. But then, those are, that's also press coverage. You can, get some coverage in that. You can also, I don't know how many people know about Austin Inno magazine here, and then there's also Built in Austin, which has a digital, they're not a magazine, but basically a digital website, content website, where they kind of cover all the startups and tech things in town. Those people are pretty easy to get a hold of, and it's, if you can go to even, and they also have like events every 2 months or 3 months. They have Built-in Austin events, or Austin Inno has like a March Madness event where they do like a 50 on fire startups in town and things like that. Go to those events, and you'll find those actually the journalists that work for those magazines or digital outlets. They're there in those events, and you can just walk up to them, talk to them, and just exchange their contacts, and when you're ready to get some press, just drop in a line, and they'll be more than happy to, cover your startup or product. And then I think once you get to a point where you already have funding and things like that, it'll be much easier, because you'll be able to go to Austin Business Journal or some of the well-known publishers, and you can do like a nationwide print and things like that. But early stage, you can just get a hold of all these digital and print media that are kind of smaller and more focused to get your coverage. And you can also maybe there's also some blogs which are not actually media outlets, but blogs that cover these tech and other companies. You can maybe partner with them and ask them to just write an article about you, and they'll be more than happy to do that. And then the other ways are, landing pages. They'll help with SEO and things like that. Getting, they'll also help you get emails for interested folks. So you can build an email list and do email marketing later. You can give away free swag if you want free T-shirts, and do some, competitions and things like that to generate interest about your startup on social media, or maybe at some of the local events. And if you know some influencers, not Instagram influencers, maybe that'll help in some cases too, but if you know some influencers in tech or in the startup community, you can just partner with them and maybe ask them to either retweet your things, or ask them to cover your items and things. Cover your startup and things like that in their circles. And lastly, there's also product launch, and when you want to launch your product, there's also websites like Product Hunt, Hacker News, Beta List, Beta Bound, and all those places where you can just post your website, and then they'll kind of showcase your product for a day or so, and you can get more visibility there as well. If you're looking for beta testers, there's a few places where you can find beta testers. I think Beta List is the most well-known website, I think, which has like a lot of startups posting stuff there. But then one disadvantage is there's a lot of startups posting stuff there, so your post might be going down in the list pretty quickly, because there's always new content coming in there. Beta Bound is another beta testing website. Pre-apps is, I think, for developers that are, as a developer, you can post an app there, and there's people that want to test your app and things like that. So user testing is it gives like a more in-depth analysis, I think, and it's, a little costlier, maybe it starts from $49 per month or something like that. And then Beta Family, and there's a lot of other beta testing websites, but I think if you can post in some of these, I think you'll be more than covered when you look for beta testers. Some case studies we'll just go through super quickly. Tinder and TaskRabbit. I don't know how many people know the initial growth spurt of Tinder. What they did was, one of the co-founders of Tinder, what she did was she went to the sororities at each college, and when at the talks that she gave at the sororities, at the end of the talks, she asked all the girls in the sorority to install the app. And once she did that, she went to the fraternity at the same college, and then she got, she showed that, hey, look at this app, and you'll find lots of, dates that you can find. And then, and she repeated that on and on with a lot of, colleges and universities, and she was able to quickly ramp up a lot of customers on her platform. So that's, it's like a kind of a guerrilla marketing thing, but that's how initial that's how you get initial users, right? And TaskRabbit, I think what they did was they started super hyper focused. They only focused on trying to remember. They only focused on moms, I think, that were facing challenges, getting things and stuff like that, and they only cater to that segment of the market and nothing else in one city. And once they were able to capture that market, slowly they expanded to other use cases and then slowly expanded to other cities as well. And Reddit and Quora, I mean, these are, Reddit, almost everyone knows that when they started, the two founders started creating like hundreds of profiles by themselves with different names, and then just started posting content, and then that's how they seeded the platform with content and they did a fake it till you make it kind of thing. So that's their model. And Quora also, I think, even with Quora, they did a lot of their own content initially to get customers, to show that their platform was growing, and then that brought in more and more customers through SEO and things like that. Twitter did a lot of word of mouth thing. So they initially got their friends and family and colleagues and other people involved, and then I think the major boost came in through South by Southwest when they kind of, in each of the hallways, they put like big LCD screens, and I think it was in 2008 or something like that. They put all the LCD screens, and they were constantly showing a stream of tweets on those LCD screens, and everyone was like, hey, what is this? And they also had a link for people to join the conversation, so they were able to, I think, ramp up from 6,000 tweets a day to like almost 20,000 or more tweets a day. And Zapier was also one of the companies that used cold emails. So this is a story I read on Zapier's blog, and I think a few other places. What they said was the initial customer that they got was before even they had a product in hand. So they saw that they were looking at Stack Overflow and other forums where tech people go and ask questions and vent their frustrations. They saw that on one of the forums there was a person that posted, there's a CEO of a company that posted, hey, does anyone know how to get customer emails from PayPal into my CRM system? Because PayPal is getting all the customer emails, and it's a hassle for me to get that customer emails and push it to my CRM. Does anyone have a product to do that? And the founders of one of the founders of Zapier, what he did was he looked at that and he sent a cold email to that person, that CEO, saying, hey, I noticed that you put this question on Stack Overflow. I think it was a month later, I guess. And he said, did you ever, and he put a link to the Stack Overflow website where that post was, and said, did you ever get a response to this, or did you ever find a good solution to this? Because we are building something that might help you, with your problem. And it seems that after looking at that and talking, having a little more conversation with that Zapier founder, they paid like $100 even before they even had a product in hand. So and then they repeated that with a lot of the forums, it seems. So they went to the forums, found people that were complaining about specific use cases where Zapier is an integration provider, kind of like a no-code integration provider. So they went to a lot of these forums, tech forums, where people were venting their frustrations about not being able to do some things with integration, and they just did a lot of cold emails, and they were able to get, I think they got their initial customers, I don't know whether it was 100 or more, but they got their initial customers through cold emails. And Alibaba also, I heard, did a lot of cold calling and on-site demos. It seems that when they were initially coming up in the Chinese marketplace, they didn't have, the manufacturing companies didn't have like an online presence, so they went to they did a lot of cold calling and also went to each of the manufacturing or manufacturers' sites, and then did a lot of on-site demos to show that, hey, by the way, our platform can do this. You can sell your things on this platform and things like that. And they got a lot of the initial supply side of things set up that way. Unbounce and Groove, I think they did a lot of early customer development, just like Zapier. Even before they had a product, they did a lot of customer engagement with potential customers by the way of, I think Unbounce or I think maybe Groove Groove founder was looking on social media saying, looking for people complaining about what his product will solve, and then he just started engaging with them, and also through his LinkedIn contacts, he started engaging with people in the industry or companies that he could sell his product to, and just sent some messages on his LinkedIn profile saying, and not selling his product, by the way, but he was messaging them saying, hey, I know that your company is using these products. I don't want to sell anything, but can I have like 2 minutes of time just to understand, what your opinion of that product is. So he was just trying to initiate conversations with people that might use his product, but not actually selling his product. He was just trying to understand the, whether the interest is there for his product or not from the relevant folks through his own LinkedIn professional network. So that's how they got their customers. And when they had the product, he again reached out to the same customers, same people that he initially talked to, and said, hey, by the way, and because they're already warmed up to him, so that's when he said, hey, by the way, we have this product, and do you want to just check it out and give some feedback and things like that. So he was not selling it per se, but he was just trying to warm up the customers to his product even before he had that product in hand. And then Instagram and GitHub and Pinterest, I think they were all word of mouth. I think Instagram it first started as a Foursquare kind of product where people, that went into bars, checked in from the bars and things like that. But then they found that people went into the bars and checked in and then started, taking photos and sharing photos and things like that. And they said, oh, that's interesting. Let's pivot to just photo sharing and things like that. And I think that's how they started, and then that grew through word of mouth initially. GitHub, for the developers out here that are familiar with GitHub, they initially started, engaging their own circles, like their developer circles, the immediate professional developer circles, and then they said, hey, do you like this? Or GitHub also lets you share small pieces of code called JIS, and they were just sending, hey, I wrote this code, and can you check out this code, or things like that, by just making it super easy to share code, and also having like an open profile where you can see what others are developing and things like that. So that's how they initially got their thing started. And Pinterest also started like that. It was word of mouth. But I think they had like a restricted beta system or something like that, where they only invited, you can only invite people to join the platform, and it was not open for everyone. And Dropbox did a lot of social marketing. Dropbox was one of the folks that posted on Hacker News in the initial stages. They got a lot of feedback from Hacker News, and also initial users from Hacker News, because a lot of people on Hacker News are either people working at startups or tech savvy folks. They started using Dropbox, and that's how they got their initial thing. So that's pretty much what I wanted to cover. But then again, there's other folks here that may have different experiences. So if anyone has some other ways or some success following a different way of getting customers, please do share with us. And yes, sir.
Sure. Yeah. So I noticed on the social media, you mentioned LinkedIn, right? So LinkedIn is fantastic for connecting with people, because like right now we obviously live in a world where like content, it does a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of marketing for your sales, right? So the more professional you can look in your posturing, on your marketing, the better. But ultimately, people buy from you because they like you, they trust you, and they like you, right? Because this is like sales 101. But connecting with people on a deeper level, just understanding who they are, just as human beings, is like so underrated these days. Because a lot of these people getting into these startups, I would say 90% of them don't succeed because they're just in it to make money, or they're just in it to do it because somebody told them that's how they should do things. I would encourage you to like figure out like what's your story, because everybody here obviously has like a story behind you, and somehow find a way to combine that with, just like the girl who created Bumble, right? She got like sexually assaulted in an alleyway, and so she created Bumble, right? It could be something simple like that, but she had something emotional attached to it, which was her like a deeper motivation. I don't know where I was going with this, but I wanted to just like point that out, because like all this know-how, how to do this, how to do that is great, but like if you don't have the fire to fuel your consistency in terms of discipline, then it's not going to happen, So I would, that's the only reason why I've been able to help my clients as well, is because like they have all these incredible ideas, but they self-sabotage, they may not believe they deserve to have a product that is like massive. So it's just like, the self-development part is really important too. So because the better you can become more of like an expert in how to talk to people, how to give people a little bit of what they want up front, before you start to like pitch to them, the more successful you're going to be, the more conversions you're going to have, the more people who are going to support you on your mission. That's all I wanted to say. So yeah, connection is important.
Yeah, I just wanted to double down on what he said around with LinkedIn. There's two big reasons I think that you should leverage that as a tool. In my personal experience, it's been incredibly easy to just talk to people that I would never be able to get a hold of otherwise. I'm connected with the VP of engineering at Google. I don't know her, she doesn't know me. I sent her one cold message and she said sure. And so now I can see the content that she posts and talks about on LinkedIn and her feed, which makes it much easier for me to come and talk to her in the future if she would eventually be one of my ideal candidates. The other big reason I'd recommend that as a platform, at least just for initial messaging, is that LinkedIn is, unlike other social platforms, it's starved for content. So if you go on like Instagram as an example, you may not see all of your friends' feeds that they posted that day. LinkedIn is the opposite, meaning that you see content from people that you don't know. So if you post something related to your story and you're connected with somebody in the industry or your potential customer base, people who they're connected to will also see your content, even if you're not related to them in any way.
Yeah, I wanted to add on to that. So I coach executives as well, so I'm very familiar with LinkedIn. What you can do is just like connect with them on like networking, just like very non-committal, like neutral. And like you would, like here, like you would just talk to somebody, get to know them as a person, right? And then, they don't know that you want to get to know them. You want to see if that could be a potential, valuable relationship. But like if they're not committed with you, but you guys like each other, you can just ask them straight up, hey, can I tag you on my post about my product that we're developing? Is that okay with you? If you get their permission, when you tag them, your post gets exposed to their entire audience. So now you've just pretty much compounded your audience. You can see how far you can take it. You can pretty much take it unlimited. But it really just takes that consistent time that you have in your free time to really like decide that this is something that you want to commit to, because it is work, but it's worth it. Just you gotta be okay with yourself. Like you gotta just drop your ego and be like, okay, fuck it, I'm just gonna put myself out there and not get nervous. Yeah, that's all.
Do they have to give you permission to tag you?
No. I mean, it's not a rule by LinkedIn. They're not gonna like shut your profile down, but it's just courtesy. Because I mean, how would you feel if someone just randomly tagged you on a post and you're like, who is this guy? Like, why is he tagging me? Yeah, I would ask first. You don't necessarily have to have a phone call with them, but at least message them and ask them if that's okay. But yeah, so talk to people on the phone. That's like the best ever. It can be like 5-minute conversation. It doesn't have to be like 30 minutes.
So this all sounds great for, I guess, like if your ideal prospect is on LinkedIn, and I know that's what you're getting at, but do you have any kind of way to get a read on like where your customer is? Like if they don't really interact with LinkedIn?
You have to decide who you want to help. Like you have to create like an avatar for the type of person that you would love to help with your product or your service. And then you just find out, okay, so what types of things does this person do? Where do they work? What industry are they in? And then you can just buy LinkedIn Premium for like $79 a month, and then you can pinpoint like exactly how to find people and what industry, what position, how long they've been in the position for. And it's like LinkedIn is insane for that. You can't do that on Facebook or any of those other platforms. You have to like go snoop around in Facebook groups, but everybody else is trying to do the same thing. So yeah, LinkedIn is awesome.
And if
yeah, you have to decide who you want to help first. You can't just like let the market decide, you know, who you help, because then you'll just be, you know, you'll try to please everybody. You know?
And if you don't know where to find the customers, I think if you can at least, as you said, like narrow down that persona of the person. Like say, for example, I mean, do you have a product or something in mind where?
Yeah, and so I'm wanting to kind of learn like where these people are talking